Click the links to join the channel here or over on subscribe, so are the various other links. So what happened? Kanye and Fuentes have been running around doing interviews, whoever will interview them, and credit to the people who are giving those interviews. And what has come out is you see on Twitter who comes out and supports. Like very few people on the right are coming out and supporting what they're saying, which is fine. That's their own personal opinion. But there are some who are supporting his right to say it, which is what I would assume everyone on the right would pretty much boldly come out and say that. And much to my chagrin, there's not a whole lot of people on the right who are coming out and saying, yes, we may or may not disagree with the things he says. That's fine, but we definitely support his right to say it, as should everyone else, right or left. You support his right to say it. And I'm not hearing whole lot of that coming from the right. I'm seeing a lot of weird, slippery, smarmy concern trolling coming from the right. And I look at them and I go, listen, if you don't boldly and zealously advocate for somebody's free speech, no matter what they say, then you're not on the right. And it's like, oh, they've been ConOps the whole time. Yeah, obviously. I mean, you know that, I know that. If you're listening to this channel, I think like 90% of you know what's up with the ConOps. But like the rest of the people who are listening to Crowder, or to, who's that guy, Jordan, the Canadian guy who's coming out for free speech, but then suddenly when it's just like his sacred cow is getting turned into hamburger, he wants everyone on Twitter to identify themselves. I was like, hey, buddy, the founding fathers wrote under pseudonyms. Well, what happened to that? Anyway, so the players at this stage right now are Alex Jones, Steven Crowder, Gavin McInnes, Glowjobs, and ConOps. So Kanye and Fuentes have been making the rounds, doing these interviews. Now, what they have to say is one issue, though. He's wearing that GIMP mask. It's a little bit hard to understand what he's. I know he's doing it because he says like he wants the ideas to stand on their own. I think that's what I heard. It's just at some point it just looks ridiculous. I mean, wear a Batman mask so at least we can hear your mouth. The other issue is the free speech issue and the weird lack of support and right wing concern trolling and virtue signaling. And there's kind of virtue signaling and there's counter signaling and there's staying neutral. And Paul Joseph Watson, to his credit, like he's on YouTube and he's making millions probably per month on YouTube. He wants to stay on there as long as possible. He knows it's not going to be forever. He came out with a little bit of tweet supporting Kanye's right to free speech. So credit to him for that. Let's take a look at the Wiki article on Gavin. Wiki, who did an interview with Kanye, again to his credit, got him on there for a little bit. That's fine. Let him speak his piece. But Wiki is like, I know nobody on the left is listening to this. They do this thing where they destroy their own foundation with like the worst thing they could do is not fact check their own articles. If you make an accusation about this guy, now here's the thing, I'm on the right in some regards, and I look at someone like Gavin McInnes, and most people on the further right will look at him and go like, yeah, he's middle of the political bell curve. Like, to call him far right means like you're destroying the structure of the language yourself, because you only have a spectrum. It has a left, a center, and an end, and you're saying everyone who disagrees with you is on the far right. That objectively doesn't make sense. That's not how a spectrum works. Gavin, objectively, is in the middle of the political bell curve. They've made free speech and interviewing people you disagree with, reasonable people may disagree without being disagreeable. The concept of sitting down with people, they've made that a far right value. Free speech is a far right value. And so is protecting kids. Which is, like I said, I'm only saying this because I have a small platform. Nobody on the left is listening to me. And the thing is, honestly, at this point, they couldn't save themselves if they wanted to. It's like the way the left is now. It's this weird anchor that they're determined to hold on, like swim and hold on to this anchor. Good luck with that. So no, there's no, like, you can't have a spectrum where everyone who's not a globalist, Marxist, whatever, is on the far right. That objectively doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so Wiki makes these accusations, and the blue text is hypertext, and that's where you'd have a URL that goes to substantiate, to build up the foundation, to supply evidence for the accusations you're making of him being some kind of fashionable guy. Like, you made a statement, you have to support it with something. And they don't. The URLs go to definitions of the words, but they don't go to evidence. And then, I mean, you can run through this and trace all the footnotes. None of them, at any point, do they go to anything other than a guy who's in the middle of the political bell curve, and who's a comedian, and that's it. And who believes in free speech and believes in talking to people, to his credit, which is like, for Alex Jones and Gavin McInnes, I know they're not our guys, of course, but they're doing interviews and they're letting people, giving people platforms. Like, that's what it's all That's what America is all about. That's what the whole concept of liberty is all about, the open marketplace of ideas. And like, yeah, there are people on the left who don't support that anymore because they're pretty much openly communist. But as it turns out, there's people on the right also who, if Nick Fuentes is a millimeter to the right of MTG, suddenly she turns and disavows him. Like, you're going to lose. You're on the right. The far left, the left doesn't disavow the far left. They go forward as a coalition that they're not all in agreement with. The right doesn't do that. They have to virtue signal and disavow the far right. It's like, you're going to lose. You're not big enough on your own if you maintain this purity spiral. It's like they don't seem to get that. Anyway, so credit to Alex Jones for letting Kanye speak his mind. Alex said he didn't. He openly, frankly said he did not agree with the things Kanye was saying, but he didn't speak over Kanye the way that Tim Pool was doing. And Tim Pool's no dummy either. Like, he knew it would be as, if he let Kanye speak for 2 hours, then that would be the end of Tim Pool on YouTube. So Alex Jones is already canceled. People go, yeah, he's already canceled. Why doesn't he just, speak his mind? It's like, well, he could legitimately believe the things he's saying. That might be true. And the thing is, there's also degrees of cancellation. I mean, ultimately, there's Epstein, Brunel, and those 4 crypto guys who got canceled. But, taking Alex at his word, he appears to be sincere. He says he's a free speech guy, and he proved it. He had Kanye Fuentes on for 3 hours, and he also says he doesn't like authoritarianism, whether it's Mao, Stalin, or the Austrian corporal. So the thing is, I think the topic I think it's a little disingenuous when he frames the topic like that. But, he's got enough on his plate right now with, being sued for like trillion, just a ridiculous amount of money. It's like, doesn't that seem like that will have a chilling effect on free speech? Yeah, it seems a little bit weird. Like, to sting him for defamation is where intentional infliction of emotional distress is one thing, but this ridiculous amount of money, it seems like you're sending a different sort of message. But the thing is, he did give Kanye a platform, and that takes balls. So Gavin McInnes is also ConOps, but he gave Kanye an interview, 45-minute interview. So credit to him for that. Gavin's a comedian, but he's pretty much openly just in this for the money. And his credit, his comedic skills, his delivery is really good. He also talked to Emily Yukis. He did some interview with her. It's on BitChute. It's really funny, and she had her way with him. But he stayed in the conversation. He didn't just hang up on her. He let her speak her piece. And it's like, listen, these guys I know these guys are milquetoast ConOps guys, but they're not exactly ConOps, because they are interviewing these people and they are allowing the message to get out there. So it's like, just because they're not perfect, it's like you got to kind of use the tools that are available to you. So I have some respect for Gavin and Alex for at least giving interviews. Even Tim Pool, sort of, because 20 minutes is better than nothing. But Crowder, and for Tim Pool even to bring those guys on was like, I'm sure he was right on the, I'm sure he was wondering about that decision. But Crowder has been virtue signaling on Twitter, and of the three, Crowder strikes me as unbalanced. I don't think it just feels like he's not playing with the full deck. He's the longer, like, he was fun in 2016, but he's the king of like taking shots at soft approved targets. Just this college kids, there's nobody stupider than a college kid. And the BLT and feminism and SJWs. And the thing is, I was kind of back when it was more allowed on YouTube. In case you haven't been paying attention to YouTube, progression of YouTube from 2016 to current day it's insanely censorious. If you try to go back and find those old videos, they're all gone now. Anyway, shows like his are ConOps, like, pretty well. It's important to bring to the attention of the people who are watching his shows, like how clowny those shows are. They keep you focused within this narrow window so you can invest your emotional energy within that approved spectrum, but nothing outside that envelope is allowed, or they'll disavow you as fast as the SJWs, which is a losing strategy because the left doesn't disavow the far left, so the left just keeps winning as people on the right are slowly learning. I would just... the frustration with the milquetoast normie right, I know I'm not the only one who feels it, because I see this stuff on Twitter. Just think of the far right as anti-communist. Anything is okay as long as you're anti-communist, but the right is the milquetoast right and will continue to keep losing. You can win, but you can't be politically correct. But the normie right doesn't actually want to win. They have a virtue signaling self-deletion wish. You're faced when you realize that the right isn't the right, because they still just move left just a little bit slower. The word conservation has a meaning. Conservatives in quotes now, well, there's very few actual conservatives now because they're not conserving anything. Once you see Crowder for what he is, a deliberate red herring to keep you off track, you're going to wonder why so many people listen to him for so long. He's still on YouTube. He's not over the target. If you're still on YouTube, you're not moving the needle if you're on YouTube. And the thing is, this is not just a fun pop cultural channel. He's pretending to talk about real issues, but he never actually does. It's kind of like Salty in that regard. Their goal is just to keep you distracted. The Kanye issue brings to the forefront that the right will cuck on free speech if it's their sacred cows. The right isn't the right. The media isn't the... Yes, free speech, yes, but Kanye has just gone too far. Some things just shouldn't be said. He might be mentally ill. He might self-harm. Oh, what a strange thing to say. Shapiro? What a weird thing to say. Why'd you... That's weird. Doesn't anyone think he might self-harm? That's interesting. Anyway, the right is pro-free speech, but no, friends. No, I don't want to hear that coming from the right. I mean, I do want to hear it because it lets me know, like, oh, you're not on the right. Like, you guys will never accomplish anything if you're not. Like, if you're on the right, just have a commitment to pro-free speech and stop trying to placate the left. You just keep moving left inches by inches, and you keep losing and losing and losing. And seeing them like just maintain this illusion that they're under, and like I don't know what it takes to get them to see it. The white pill is Twitter with Elon Musk and a little bit freer speech on that. People are kind of seeing that kind of stuff come to the forefront. Anyway, the right's not the right. The media's not the media. It's been ConOps the whole way down. The only thing I want to hear from the normie right is, hey, we may disagree with the speaker. It doesn't even matter what they say, but we'll defend his right to speak. We should all open marketplace of ideas, sunlight being the best disinfectant. Let the best ideas rise to the top. But the right is subject to the same globalist media propaganda brainwashing in the same government schools since post-World War II that the left is. Like, the right's not the right anymore. If you look at the right from current day and look at the right from like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Pat Buchanan and Newt Gingrich, and you hear how they spoke in the 90s when right-wing talk radio was the rage, and when like those guys are still speaking that way, and then you hear Newt Gingrich do that Fox interview with those two girls, and they just lost their effing minds when he mentioned that which must not be named on YouTube, and they shut him down. Like that, and that interview is still on YouTube. That little clip is on there. Soros getting shut down on Fox News because he mentioned Satan. And they like you saw the look on their face, and they're just like, they thought that would not be allowed on Fox. And you go, why would you think that would not be allowed on Fox, ladies? That's a little weird. Like, the right's not going to win unless they find their balls, and they don't seem to even be looking for their balls. Anyway, instead, we get this virtue signaling from Crowder types. It's painful to see, because you look at them like, so you guys support free speech or not? Because it doesn't seem like you do. And if you don't, let's let your audience know that you flat out don't support free speech. You like to dress up as a lady and troll the mentally ill crowd and catch college kids with just the stupidest questions and make these little 10-minute videos that are pop culture and entertaining. That's fine if it was just an entertainment channel, but you're kind of, you have this illusion that you're covering politics, but you never do. You never say anything important. The same with Salty. It's like he says some things that are, Salty does say, like, more so than Crowder, he does occasionally drop red pills here and there. But a lot of it is this, stay within this narrow spectrum, and if you go outside it will disavow you and destroy you, just like an SJW would. It's like, you're going to lose. If you have a purity spy, you will lose. Your group has to be broad enough to have people that you're not in lockstep agreement with. Because the left has got the moderate left, but they also have the far left, and they don't disavow them. The Antifa and BLM, they don't disavow those guys at all. And the right, in quotes, the Steven Crowder right, is the quickest one to disavow anyone a millimeter to the right to them. It's like, well, you might as well give up right now, because you're just going to continue to lose. It's these wings of the same bird, but it's flying to the left. It's like we're gonna get them this time. It's the most important election. Have you been paying attention over the decades? It's like you've been losing nonstop for the past 50 years. Nothing matters unless you start actually moving to the right again. And I see very few people on the right. The only people who actually want to move on the right are labeled by the right and the left the dangerous extreme far right. And the moderate right is accepting the far left's framing of the narratives. Like, you got to get rid of these milquetoast, the Ben Shapiros and the Rubins and the Crowders and the people who don't actually want to address anything real, because they're just keeping people wasting their energy on pointless bread and circuses. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.